Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, very exciting. I'm going to be showing you everything that I got at the AC/DC concert in Arlington, Texas, and also kind of reviewing the concert as a whole, so y'all get kind of an understanding of how the band sets, how is their live performances today, and just stuff like that. So it's a great Sunday, beautiful day out, I will say. I'm very excited to display and show all this stuff to y'all today. So let's go ahead and get started to it. Of course, AC/DC, you know, one of my favorite bands of all time, but basically the band that started it all for me with music. You can't see it, but I got a massive AC/DC flag over here in the corner. You can see the Iron Maiden one, which I do prefer, but the AC/DC one is sitting right over there, and it looks really great. But nonetheless, we're going to be diving into AC/DC today, not Iron Maiden. We'll get some more Maiden videos out eventually. The concert was at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, or Dallas, even though it's not technically in Dallas nor Fort Worth. But, you know, no one really knows that, apparently. So we'll just go with, we're going to say Arlington because that's what it is. And the opener was The Pretty Reckless, which I knew existed but never heard of. And I will say they were a solid opener. Not really the type of music I will want to listen to, even though it's obviously rock and roll. I thought that the girl that played Cindy Lou Who was, you know, pretty fine, I will say. But I mean, it was okay. It was not bad. I mean, not a bad opener, and I definitely know who they are now, and that was great. But you know, no one was there to see that band. They were there to see AC/DC, and the band definitely did deliver. Obviously they're older in age. Brian Johnson's, you know, pushing 80 almost, so you know, you got to be thankful that we get to see him live at least. But I think Angus did a fantastic job. The other three did great as well. And it was fantastic. They played all the songs you would want to hear, even some specific deep cuts from Power Rage, which of course is my favorite AC/DC album, so I was very happy about that. And you know, Angus was running around and had still his youthful AC/DC schoolboy energy, which was great. Obviously the band did sound like they were a little older, I will say, but I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't too bad. Just the really only noticeable like kind of changes or like differences or obvious reasons that they were older is that Thunderstruck was slowed down a little bit, which I didn't entirely understand, considering all the solos that Angus played thereafter were as the same speed as normally. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, I know that it can be challenging to continuously pick Thunderstruck for a certain amount of time because he doesn't tap it, he picks it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still think they could have kept the normal tempo. I'm sure there's people that will understand that more than me, but I don't really care. We just got to hear the song live. Why would I complain? Brian Johnson didn't sound bad by any means, but you could definitely tell, you know, he's sounding older, but he was having so much fun, and I think that was kind of the highlight. And you could hear him decently well too, and I'm not gonna complain. It was a great show. The pyrotechnics were great. As I said, everything you wanted about AC/DC. Definitely one of my favorite concerts I've ever been to, just because of the experience, being there with the fans, being there with the people. The last time I'm ever gonna get to see AC/DC, it was fantastic. A dream come true, bucket list. So I mean, not complaining about that by any means. So enough of my gibbering. Let's get into what I picked up at the show. So there was a pop-up shop in Fort Worth, Texas, which is where I was to get some early AC/DC merchandise. I got an AC/DC pin for this jacket. I don't have it on me right now. I've somehow misplaced it, so I'm gonna have to go search through all the crap in my room and find it. We did get this really cool AC/DC army hat, which says Power Up on the side. Of course, this is the Power Up tour. I've worn this quite a bit. As you can see, it's a little worn already, but it was a great little tour thing. That's what it looks like on my head. As you can see, it looks rather nice. Not something I'm gonna wear all the time just because of like how awesome it was the tour, but loved this hat, and I think it was great. This wasn't too expensive. Then at the pop-up shop, I also picked up Power Rage on vinyl. I thought this was gonna be on gold vinyl, so I was a tad disappointed when I found out that it wasn't, but I'm not gonna complain. Here she is. Of course, this is just the standard AC/DC new releases of their vinyls, which they do very well, I will say. And I didn't actually own any AC/DC vinyls before. I have all their CDs, but not the vinyl, so I had to pick up Power Rage because, of course, it's like, in my opinion, their best album. I know some people will say Back in Black, but I mean, this is just iconic to me. I love every song on here. Fantastic work from the band. And now, the last thing I picked up, I have this one wrapped up just because I want to kind of preserve it, is quite cool, is their AC/DC's TNT, which is, of course, if you know, an Australian release only. And you look at the back here, it will say, where is it? an Australian production recorded at Albert Studios in Sydney, Australia. Obviously, you can pick this album up. If you want an original copy, you're going to have to, it's not going to be the easiest challenge. This is a remaster, of course, remastered in, let's see, we're 2024, so obviously this is a brand new remaster. I don't know if you can find these online or anything. I haven't looked. Can't imagine they're going to be that hard to get. But for those of you who don't know, AC/DC's international album High Voltage came out in 1976, but they had 2 albums out before that that were only released in Australia. This one and the Australian High Voltage. This album, for those of you who are wondering, is basically High Voltage, the international album, but instead we get Rocker off of Dirty Deeds, for those of you who know, and School Days on here, which is a Chuck Berry cover, and we do not get She's Got Balls and Little Lover. And I'm not honestly complaining too much about that. I thought the Rocker being on here was great. I think it kind of matches with the earliness of their records, and there are slight changes on some of the songs on here. Obviously, these are like the first editions, so it sounds a little bit different. Here's a look at the inside. Very, very cool to see all of this on here. One of my favorite things on here is when it says Ronald Belford Scott, which is of course Bon Scott, but he is called Bon and it says so, but I mean, just to have his full name on there is really, really cool. And there's the track listing on the back for those of you who want to see, nothing too crazy. And then of course we have a cool, not a printed inner sleeve or anything, and here's the vinyl, which has a nice looking insert on the middle there. Albert Productions, not a heavy vinyl, but still a really nice vinyl nonetheless. I'm not going to complain. This album was not too expensive, so that was really, really nice. So this was definitely one of my favorite finds I got, just because I've wanted this album for a while. Very pleased with this. And that was all I got at the pop-up shop. Now, at the actual tour, I got lots of food, but we got the AC/DC Power Up Tour Book, which is really cool. This is, of course, the North American and Europe tour book. You can't see it from here, but the lettering on here is kind of a 3D, so you can kind of feel it, which is cool. And the back is actually really cool as well. I'm not going to show y'all every single photo because that would take a little while. I do like to keep this guy wrapped up in the AC/DC merch bag just because I want it to stay preserved. But you can it's a nice little booklet you can flip through. Let's see if I can find y'all. So this is probably my favorite page we got here because it just shows the band performing in front of hundreds of thousands of people. Probably not hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands is more appropriate. But you know, they have performed in front of 3 million people before. If you know your AC/DC lore, here's some cool photos. This Angus right here in the middle here, that's what he did at the show. Some cool photos of the band performing, of course. Lots of photos of just that, as I said. And we got the fans here, lots of fan photos, which is great. Love to see that. Lots of kids at the show too. I will say that was very nice. And then there's kind of a look at how the AC/DC the pop-up shop looked like. This is sort of the atmosphere we got in here. It was really, really cool. I'm not going to complain about that. And then, of course, one of the coolest ones is you have an entire discography, which does not count Who Made Who in it, which is okay. But I think it would have been cool to throw that in here. But it does see the Australian version. So we have the entire discography here, which is really, really cool to see. They had every single one of these vinyls for sale at the AC/DC pop-up shop, which was just fantastic. I wish I could have bought them all, but obviously I didn't. And then one final photo is, of course, Angus here running along, which was great. And then we have the tour credits in the back. And for those who don't know, the other guys that were playing, one thing I did think was really cool, I should say, is that I don't know if this is supposed to be like, I don't know if this is just a random photo they picked or if it's alluding to it, but here we have a power-up photo from 2025, right? At least I'm assuming it's from maybe it's not, maybe it's from the European tour, whatever. This is 2025, as you can see right here, 2025. And then to the right here we have 1985's Fly on the Wall, a live shot, which of course, you know, that would mean that was 40 years later, right? So there's Fly on the Wall, AC/DC, and then we have AC/DC in 2025, 1985, 2025. I don't know if that's meant to be or if I'm just a nerd and realize that, but that is definitely a Fly on the Wall era. You can tell by just the logo and just the way the band's looking in the back. And for those of you who are wondering who else was on, oh yeah, and I can't forget the tour dates. We got all the tour dates, of course. But for those of you who are wondering who was on drums and everything, you had Stevie Young on rhythm guitar, of course, Matt Long. I thought it was Mutt Lang at first, and I was like, what? But it's Matt Lag. I'm butchering it, on drums, and then Chris Chanley on bass. I need to find out how they kind of got that job, but I'm sure it's cool nonetheless. So I love this tour book. It's really, really great. Probably my favorite thing that I picked up. I will not even lie, and I loved everything else, but it's one of my favorite things. So that's about all I had for this video. That is what I picked up at the show. Thank y'all for watching. Subscribe. Be on the lookout for some comedy sketches because those are coming out soon. Anyways, I love y'all, and be safe, and God bless.